Courageous leadership. Well, good evening, and this is the MAP show number 102, and it's going to be a great and exciting evening as we talk about one of those really important topics of leadership. And I trust that tonight you are ready to take your leadership to a whole new level. This is part of MAP for Life and part of our support to our members, and we would invite you to share your comments, your insights, post them on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever channel that you're watching from this evening. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the panel, please feel free to post those questions as well. And we look forward to engaging with you this evening. Tonight's speaker is Rian Berger, all the way from Lydenburg, South Africa. And if you know where that is, then, well, you know more than most people. Lydenburg is a small mining city in the eastern parts of South Africa, in the part where the sun rises. So if you want to see the sunrise, then go to Lydenburg, and that's the place where it happens. So we're looking forward to Rian. He recently shared this message at our MapCon. We were excited about it, and we're looking forward to discuss this topic with you this evening. The topic being courageous leadership. Over to Rian.
Good evening, Glenn. Thank you for that introduction. You'll be surprised how many people knows where Lydenburg is, but it is really a privilege. If the lighting looks a bit funny, we just went into one of our most popular words from 2022 in South Africa. We call it load shedding. So I'm working here with a hunting light, but at least everything is going. So now it's a privilege for me to be sharing tonight. I'll be sharing about courageous leadership, a talk that we had at MapCon 2023 about a month ago. It was a huge privilege being there. This is content that I learned mostly from talks from Andy Stanley and a few other leadership fundis, call it that. But it's stuff that I try to bring home, to our own South African content and what I found in my own life as being a leader in mostly the mining industry, but also other industries. So tonight I'm going to talk about 7 pointers when I talk about courageous leadership. It was interesting. I told the people, I didn't plan this before, but in the beginning of the year, when I prayed about the year 2023, I realized that if you add all the figures up, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3, that means that comes to the figure of 7, which is for me a figure of significance. The Lord said that this year will be a significant year where things will happen that will make us significant leaders. And I think to grab onto that, it is really important to realize that we need to be courageous. And I think wherever you are in the world, we need courageous leaders to get up, to stand up and to be counted. So tonight, when I talk about these things, I really want to stir your hearts that you will get up and be the courageous leaders that God has called you to be. In Map for Life, we always said you've got a unique purpose that the world cannot do without. But to get to that unique purpose and that unique leadership that the world cannot do without, I'm also convinced that we will need to have courage. And hopefully after tonight, you'll take a bit of courage to know it is difficult. We wouldn't have called it courageous leadership if we didn't take courage. But the benefit is if we do that and if we stick with that, when we became the unique leaders that God has called us to be and that we need to be, and that the world and the people around us, the people we are leading, and the ones the big person releasing is ourselves. So we need to lead ourselves well and have the courage for that. So let me jump into it. The 7 points I'll be covering, I'm just going to quickly go through them, and then I'm going to spend a bit of time on each of them. Firstly, we said that courageous leaders have the courage to initiate action. Secondly, we say that courageous leaders are always looking for the difficult things to do. The third thing is courageous leaders are walking in the darkness of the unknown. Like I'm walking in the darkness tonight, at least I've got a light. We all got a light as well, obviously. Then the fourth thing is that courage does not equal a lack of fear. The fifth thing we're going to discuss is that courageous leaders learn when to say no. Then courageous leaders will always face reality. And the last one we're going to touch on is courageous leaders never forget to dream. So if we jump right in, our first point is that courageous leaders are initiators. They are initiating action. What do I mean with that? Courageous leaders get to what as it is, but they challenge what is for what could be and eventually what should be. What do we mean by that? Everything we have in this life, be it the aeroplanes, be it vehicles, the cars, Henry Ford, you can call the guys, the Wright brothers, all of them were challenging what is. They said, no one has flown anything yet except birds. Why can't we fly? And they kept on pushing and initiating the action to bring the change forth. Courageous leaders do not wait around until all the questions are answered. They jump into action, they initiate action, they figure the questions out along the way, but they never wait until each and every question are answered, because otherwise they will never start moving. The second point I want to say, stress, is that courageous leaders know that leadership is difficult. It is difficult. If it is hard to lead, you are most probably doing it right. Now, I know that's not a good thing to hear tonight. We want to say, no, but we want things to be easy, We want life to be easy. But leadership is not easy. Leadership is difficult. That's why you have a few leaders and a lot of followers. Because at the end of the day, you are doing something that's difficult that someone else do not want to do. Your courageous leaders are taking people to a place that neither the people they are leading nor they themselves, the leader, know where they are going. And they've got no guarantee of success. So you need courage to walk out and say, let me lead you to a place that I think we should be, but I don't have any guarantees. We need to embrace the unknown, and we need to embrace the energy that comes with this thing in our back of our minds that we are actually leading to a place that we do not know and we've got no guarantees. But courageous leaders do have godly courage to do the difficult things. Listen nicely. The difficult things that no one else wants to do. I'm going to say it again. Courageous leaders have the courage, godly courageous leaders, but no other people or no other leaders want to do. We need to have the courage today to stand up for what is right. We need to have the courage to stand up for the truth. We need to have the courage to do the right thing. In today's terms, it is a lot of time easier to just let it be. Whatever will happen, will happen. Courageous leaders stand for what is right. And a godly courageous leaders will always stand for the truth, and they will never stand back, even if it's going to cost us. Even if it's going to cost us power or status or whatever, we are willing to stand our stand. The third thing is, courageous leadership is like a walk in the darkness. What do I mean about that? We lead people, and a lot of time we don't really know what the outcome is going to be. In spite of this uncertainty, we need to always, and whenever you have change, let us just face that. If there's change, people are uncomfortable. There's this energy and this resistance. So the moment we start leading people to change, they start getting uncomfortable and they start resisting. But this uncertainty that always accompanies change, this is where the greatest opportunity is lying, to grow as a leader and to grow your people. Courageous leaders trust the Holy Spirit to be the only light in this darkness. And a courageous leader knows that when we walk into the darkness, we walk one step at a time. And as we take the step in the darkness, we don't know what's in front of us, but we know that God has sent us. So He sent us, we take the next step. We take the next step. I said to people before, it's like we've got a long-term pass here close to town. Sometimes it's very misty and it's raining. So you can barely see in front of me. What do? I slack down to a very slow speed and I just keep on moving. Whatever I can see and I just move. If it's 20 or 30 or 40 kilometers an hour, that's what I go at to make sure I know what's in front of me. But I don't stop. I keep on going because I know I need to get to the other side. And that's the same with courageous leader. Whether it's dark, whether I know the outcome or not, I will keep on going. Courage is not the lack of fear. Some people think you don't. If you have courage, you will never fear. You will fear, but it's to acknowledge. In the Bible, we've got 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 that says, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of strength and love and self-control. The fact that the Bible mentions that God did not give us a spirit of fear actually acknowledge that we will be faced with fearful situations. But in these fearful situations, we acknowledge that we are afraid of whatever is lying ahead. But we move forward because we know that that spirit of fear doesn't come from God. But He has given us the spirit of strength, of love, and the self-control to keep on moving. Leaders that refuse to move until all fear is gone will never move, and they will never lead either. You will not be a leader if you refuse to move. A lot of people say, I will only move once I got all the answers, once I know what's going on. Well, once there's no more fear. If that's the way you want to lead, you will never lead. The expression of courage, the expression of you saying, acknowledging there's fear, but we're going to go in front because God has led us to do that. That is essential to leadership. That is essential to get people to follow you. Courageous, godly leadership is not a lack of fear, but it's an overwhelming faith in God. I want to say that again. To have godly courage does not mean to have a lack of fear, but it means to have an overwhelming faith in God and in His word. We move on to the fifth one. Courageous leadership knows that every opportunity does not equal obligation. In short, it means they know when to say no. Great leadership is the ability to identify and to focus on a few necessary opportunities. In the book Good to Great, Jim Collins writes, that it's like the porcupine. You focus on a few things and you cut the rest of the things off. A courageous leader knows every opportunity that's coming past on your desk or in front of you doesn't need to be met. You need to take the ones that God has already given you. So a courageous leader knows that even if it sounds great and even if everybody sings all the praises to an idea, if it's not the right one, we let it go and we say no. So a courageous leader will not say yes to any unrelated opportunity just because there's an opportunity on my desk. A courageous leader will say no to all those unrelated opportunities, and they will not allow any opportunity coming their way to dilute my effectiveness. If I'm a courageous leader, I know what God has called me to do, I know my purpose, and I'm going to stick to that. And I'm not going to allow the enemy or anyone else to come and dilute my opportunities in my effectiveness because I'm running behind everything that is coming my way. Second last one is courageous leaders face the current reality. In actual fact, I want to say relentlessly discovering the truth. So a courageous leader always faces reality. A courageous leader, and once again, I go and borrow from Jim Collins. It says, they go and they turn around rocks and look at the squiggly things down under, even if it scares the hell out of them. What does this mean? Sometimes where I am, I'm also a trail runner. I run around in a bush and I run around in a field, and I see the stones and the rocks. And you know what happens when I turn them around? There are typically scorpions and spiders. There can even be snakes. There's all kinds of stuff that I don't like to see. But if I'm a courageous leader, sometimes you need to go and turn that rock around, even though you know in the back of your mind, you're going to see some stuff behind that rock that you do not want to see. But I am going to face the reality. I'm going to do that even if it scares the hell out of me. And that means when I know people are busy with stuff they shouldn't be busy with, they are busy with things that's in the darkness and not in the light, I am going to turn around the rock. I am going to address the situation, and I am going to do it even if it's going to make me unpopular, even if it's going to cost me status or whatever the case may be. I will do what is right, and I will face anything that the enemy brings my way, even if it scares the hell out of me. And Stanley goes further. He says, the 7 commandments for a leader to face reality is: a courageous leader shall not pretend. A courageous leader shall not turn a blind eye. A courageous leader shall not exaggerate. The courageous leader shall not shoot the bearer of the bad news. The courageous leader shall not hide behind the numbers. You know, I'm an accountant. We hide behind the numbers to not show the real picture. A courageous leader shall not ignore constructive criticism. And a courageous leader shall not isolate themselves, especially if they feel that they've been painted into a corner. And I'm going to go to the last point. Courageous leaders are the ones that have the courage to dream. Courageous leadership is the courage to dream. Never forget to dream. Always allow your mind, back to number 1, allow your mind to wander outside the realm of what is, and begin to create a mental picture of what could be and what should be. Never forget your dreams. When leaders are not willing to dream, their followers are not willing to follow them anymore. Your followers are actually following you and your dream. You cannot stop your dream. Dream no small dreams, for they do not stir the hearts of men. I want to say that again. Do not dream small dreams, because they do not stir the hearts of men. People don't get excited about my dream to get out the door or get out of bed in the morning. That's not a dream. People's hearts get stirred when they get a big dream that they can believe in. And the last one is, you need to have the place where people do not howl your dreams to death. Andy Stanley says, do not howl my dreams to death. What do I mean? When someone has shared a dream with you, I start saying, but how are you going to do it? How are you going to get money? How are you going to get time? How are you going to get people? How? What are we doing? We're howling our dreams to death. The moment we start stopping the people, say, stop writing your tracks. How are you going to do it? I'm starting to kill the dreams. Do not be the one that's howling other people's dreams to death, and do not allow people to howl your dreams to death. Allow yourself to dream and fly the kite for a while, and then start taking it to the ground. So as a godly leader, you do not have any idea what is hanging in the balance of your decision to act courageously. Remember, courage will always trump charisma, vision, and any other leadership qualities. You can be the greatest leader, but if you do not have courage, you're not going to be effective at all. It takes courage to be vulnerable and to embrace your humanity. Acknowledge it when you are wrong, admit your fears, and admit when you do not have all the answers. That is being vulnerable. As a leader, you can say, I don't know. People will always follow courage and display courage only if they see courage in their leader. I want to close off. Have the courage today, in the next week, in the next month. Have the courage to do what is right, and have the courage to do what God wants you to do. We need courageous leaders to stand up and be counted. Thank you, Glenn. I'm excited about this. Looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Great, and good evening. I'm the other Glenn in Map for Life, and so welcome you as you're listening tonight as well. And Rian, that was brilliant. I've often heard people speak about courageous leadership, but I must admit what you've brought tonight is really something different, something unique, and I loved your points. And I think we can just go through a couple of these points and discuss it quickly. But congratulations, that was really great, excellent. And it went well as far as the load shedding was concerned. There was a bit of a hitch there, but we heard everything, so it was really good. Okay, awesome. Let's start off with that first point. And I love what you said about initiating action as far as challenging what is. I just love that statement, challenging what is. I think so many people have a problem in actioning things. I think we can all plan. You know, I often speak about a young little girl, 10 years old, planning a wedding. She'll probably write a thesis, you know, but the action thereafter, actually stepping into it, is something that I think people have a challenge with. What's your take on that?
Yeah, and thank you, Glenn. I think that's also why I said, you know, we need to challenge what is for what could be and should be. But the other thing we said is that courageous leaders do not always wait until they have all the answers. And that's a big thing nowadays, you know. We've got so many questions and we've got this fear of moving before we have all the answers. And I think courageous leaders that actually make an impact are the ones that is willing to say, you know what, I've got 70% of the answers. The other 30% is up there in the air. But you know what? We'll find out along the way. Let's just start moving. And I think that's the important thing. And you need courage for that. I mean, I'm seeing it in my own situation. It's interesting. Just over a year ago, I left my previous employment. Now I'm doing the startup business thing. And the thing is, you need to initiate action the whole time. But it takes courage. It takes courage to put yourself out there. Jaap Nel always said to go and put your flower out there that the bees can see it. But it takes courage, you know. It's much better to sit and plan and do to-do lists till death do us part. But one day you need to leave the to-do list and actually start doing something. And that's very important. Don't wait until you have all the answers or all the comfort, because then by that time, you know, the boat has sailed and everything has happened.
Exactly. Glenn McCook often talks about writing books, of the many books that he's written, and he often speaks about the fact that he always wanted to be perfect before he put it out, and it's never going to be perfect. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. So it's such an important aspect that you speak about. Okay, let's look at that next point. It's difficult. Looking for things that are difficult, that's what courageous leaders do. I think there is so much truth in that as well. I think so many of us are in comfort zones all the time, and we don't want those difficult issues to take place. You know, we always have this concept of life is so hard already. Why must we actually make it even more difficult? But I often think of the late Miles Monroe when he spoke about eagles and the chickens. And the eagle will fly high and actually fly into a storm and above it and soar above it, whereas the chickens will scurry around and run for cover. And that so speaks to what you spoke about tonight. I think it's really important. You also mentioned the unknown, the potential of the unknown for me is actually an exciting thing. It shouldn't be something that, you know, I have fear about that. I think if we made in God's image and likeness, we should get excited about the potential of the unknown.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Yes, you know, I just want to touch on a difficult thing. You know, it's also one thing that I think Annie Stanley said it. Is that, you know, when people comes to you and tells you, but it's difficult, then most probably you're doing something right. And the fact of the matter is, when you are a leader, you put yourself out there to stand out and to be different and not to be going the mainstream. You want to do something, and it is going to be difficult. So prepare yourself for that. But what you're saying, like a walk in the dark, that's actually one of the things that I'm saying. I fully agree with you. The excitement of the unknown and this walk in the darkness, yes, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of things of the unknown, but it's actually creating energy. And the courageous leader knows how to capture that and actually use that to their advantage, to use it as the fuel to keep the people moving in the right direction. So the worst thing you can do is acting to try, like, don't worry, guys, the lights are on, we know where we're going. And then we don't know where we're going. You know, there's much more value in it to tell the guys, we don't really know where we're going, but don't worry, we're going to go one step at a time. We are not going to be afraid to walk in this darkness, and then actually using that energy that's coming from that.
Quite correct. There was something that came through very strongly for me, in fact, in all the various points, although you didn't necessarily say it as such, but I think one of the things that was really important is just consistency, about stepping out and sticking with it and keep on moving, don't give up, don't stop, just keep on moving. And I always think of that movie with the fish, with Dory, and she said something to the effect of, just keep on swimming, just keep on swimming. It's such a simple thing, and yet at the same time, I think it's so profound that as a leader, and definitely a courageous leader, we have to keep on moving. Irrespective of the uncertainty, irrespective of what's happening around us, we keep on stepping out in faith and moving in a direction. I think that's important.
Yes. And I think that comes back to the thing again of the difficult stuff, A lot of time, the leaders, what sets you apart is the fact that you are willing to step out and do what most of the time other people don't want to do. Because most of the time when you are leading people and you're going somewhere, there have been people before you and they were not willing to pay the price. The fact that will set you aside, that will make you significant, is the fact that you are actually willing to go on where other people left off and said, well, we don't have the energy for it. Because as a leader, you need to understand that the energy and the focus and direction of the group comes from you. So it's your responsibility to, when everybody's batteries are flat and even yours are getting flat, then you still need to keep the energy up. You need to do whatever it is necessary to keep the guys moving. But I think that's a very good point you're making, is the consistency is very important.
Yeah, very much so. I just want to jump quickly to something, point number 5, when you talk about learn to say no. And I have to admit, it's something that I've had to learn, and I still struggle with this because I tend to want to help all the time. but you have to learn to say no. But there's something I'd like to bring out of you, and I was actually at a talk last night with a chap by the name of Martin Couscous, who wrote a book called Credibility Matters. He was actually a chap that was involved with politics and with pension funds and whatnot, and many times he was actually brought to a point where he had to say no to certain things, and even to corruption. And that's why he wrote this book, Credibility Matters. And I think that's an important aspect as a courageous leader as well. You're going to have to say no sometimes. You're going to have to actually stand up. And you mentioned that yourself, that you have to actually say no to certain things, and you are going to take flack. People are going to hate you and put you down and try and stop you. And even in the sense of, in terms of the dream, going right back to the number 7, never forget the dream. There's just one point I want to make very quickly, and you can perhaps confer with this, but I've often found it's quite sad that your family and friends around you, when you come up with a dream and a vision and a revelation, they are normally the ones that want to stop you. And generally speaking, it's actually because they love you. They're almost scared that you're going to take this big risk and fail, and they don't want you to fail. But at the same time, we have to step out in faith. We have to do things in faith. And so to me, what all the various points you've just spoken about here tonight it's just so pertinent and so important. And I must admit, I'm very impressed with it. Thank you very much for this.
No, thanks, Glenn. And I want to add on, I think you actually put a very interesting spin on it, because to say no is two things. The one thing is you learn to say no, because we all know it, at the stage, nothing is happening in your lives. And then suddenly there are 100 things happening at the same time. But
yes,
you need to keep the, the story about the axe. We just want to chop quicker and harder, but we just need to sharpen the axe, Keep it sharp, keep it focused, keep it straight. But the other point that you're raising is just equally important, is also saying no to when the wrong doors are opening, and when you need to have your credibility that matters. Integrity is such an important thing, and there's unfortunately so many stories, and it's not only, it's worldwide, it is government and it is private sector, about people and organization that has lost their integrity. And once that has left the door, it is so difficult to get it back. So I definitely agree with that point of yours to say, no can be to both ways. And I think it's definitely normally the people closest to you that does the thing that Andy Stanley warns us about, to how our dreams to death. I actually laugh because sometimes myself and my wife need to check, and she's now my only one that I can talk to. And then she starts when I think she starts howling, then I say, no, don't howl my dreams to death. Then she gets very angry at me. But I think they come from a place where you say, they have seen you fail before, they've seen the effect of you, and then they say, let's rather safeguard him against it. But the fact of the matter is, growth is outside of the comfort zone. So they need to support you and let you know, if you fail, we'll be here to catch you. Don't worry. Go and try, go and run. And we need to do it as well, because we are also sometimes the family and the loved ones that tries to stop hurt coming to our children or to our spouses or to our friends. And then we say, it might not work, rather leave it. And then we are the ones that's not supporting and trying to stop and howl the people to death.
Quite correct. Quite correct. And again, it's the first time I've actually heard that statement, that howling our dreams to death. I really love that. Excellent. When you said it just now, the first time, I didn't quite catch it. I'm thinking, what are you talking about now? Then you said it again and I clicked. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Really a good way to put it. Don't howl your dreams to death. Love that. Awesome. Just very briefly, there were 7 points that you mentioned that Danny spoke about. Just if you can just touch on that quickly, and then we can end on that. I think it's just important that you just touch on those points again, if you can get those points for me.
Yes, he said he calls his 7 commandments for leaders to face reality.
Yes.
So his 7 commandments, he said the only reason there's 7 is because he couldn't get up with 10. So he got to 7, and then there was nothing more. So, but I think the first thing is to not pretend. So when you face reality, do not pretend. Throw pretense out the window. Throw the masks away. The second one is to not turn a blind eye. When we know that our dear valued colleague that's been working with me for many years, when there's maybe something fishy about accounting, whatever, do not turn the blind eye. Go and check what's going on. Do not exaggerate. Somebody came to me to say something, and then, it's like, 30 people need to come to me and all say the same thing, and then I start believing it. Before that, you're exaggerating. I'm not going to jump on a gossip wagon. Don't shoot the barrier of the bad news. The poor guy or lady that came to tell me, there's a story in the Bible about the guy that came to King David to bring the message that Saul was dead. He killed the guy. He actually killed the messenger.
That's right.
And I think
don't shoot the messenger.
Say, don't shoot him. Honor them for having the guts to do it. Then do not hide behind the numbers. And I think a lot of time we know that things are going south, but we try to fudge it away by playing with the numbers here and there, a numbers game, when we try to show the people what we think they want to see, rather than facing reality that, guys, we are busy facing a big issue here. But now we try to hide it away. We want to want to massage the ears. And then not ignore constructive criticism. We like the people that come and tells us everything we do is great, but we don't like the ones that say, hey, you've got an issue. When you talk, I can't listen to you. You are fudging the figures. You are not giving us the facts, whatever it is, Do not ignore constructive criticism. And then I like the last one is to not isolate yourself, because the big thing you do, the moment you start feeling that the team is not going the way I want them to go, what do? We start isolating yourself. Glenn is not talking. Glenn doesn't want to listen to me. He always criticizes, so I'm not going to talk to him. Pete is doing the same thing. Tim is doing the same. At the end of the day, I'm sitting here on a little island in the middle, and I don't know what's going on. It's your own fault, because you are isolating yourself when you don't like the feedback. Face the feedback, face the criticism, and do not isolate yourself. And those are the 7 commandments, according to Mr. Stanley.
Fantastic, man. Excellent. He's a brilliant writer and a brilliant leader as well.
Yes.
Rian, wonderful talk tonight. Thank you very much. Really great. I think if people have actually made notes on this and taken notes, and they can take this and actually apply it in their lives, they will be courageous leaders. So thank you very much for that. And we wish you the best in all your endeavors as well.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. It was great.
Fantastic. Hopefully we can get... Is Glenn back?
Today, for me, today for you, today for each of us, is an opportunity and an invitation to step into a world of abundance where your life matters, where your vision makes a difference, where the world will know that once upon a time in the past there was a man or a woman who rose to the calling of God in their life and made the impact that they were designed to make. And you have that ability. Just die to self, surrender to Him, and become significant. I couldn't be more excited for you. I could not be more excited about the future, because every person that you equip to take that step of putting a plan together for their life, a plan that is aligned with the desires of their heart, those people, those children, young and old, are going to come alive, and they're going to cause a ripple that goes through time that impacts the lives of others. Make the choice today to live a life of significance.